Senator Franken, you know the Senate better than I do, certainly. Claire McCaskill was on our air yesterday saying it's not just Manchin. There are other more moderate Democrats who are not necessarily for overturning the filibuster either, but that President Joe Biden would have quite an enormous influence if he decided to take that route. Yesterday, he compared these new voting laws, restrictions to Jim Eagle or Jim Crow. Something about Jim Crow.
Wasn't his best line, but it was fine. In many ways.
Tell me what's going to happen.
I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. No, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I think in many ways this is a gift because it's so bad. It's so bad. It's so transparently bad. I agree with the president. The thing about water, delivering water in line, that's sick. That's sick. You're going to do time if you give somebody water in a line because they're waiting because they're in an area with very few places to vote. Here's what I think. Three things I think will happen because of this. First of all, we're going to pass some version of S1 and of the House bill, the
HR
1 and 4, HR 1 and HR 4, and pre-clearance and some federal, because this is so bad and everybody knows it. And to do that, we're going to have to do something about the filibuster. Now, first of all, we may do something where you lower the threshold to 51 on voting, like a carve-out. And that makes a lot of sense. This is so fundamental to our democracy. And then you have mentioned reforming the filibuster. And Joe Manchin has said he doesn't want to get rid of the filibuster, but he's open to reforming it. And I've been talking to my former colleagues about this, and I think this is very possible. And Norm Ornstein and I, a few years ago, came up with a plan to do this, that instead of you have to get 60 votes to break a filibuster, you have to get 41 votes to sustain a filibuster, in this case, the Republicans, and they'd have to be on the floor to do that. And then they would have to do a talking filibuster, which means they'd have to debate this. And believe me, I do know the Senate better than you. I know my colleagues, they don't want to have to be there in the middle of the night. This will get old very quick. And
just to be clear, are you saying 41 senators have to be on the floor during the talking filibuster in order to sustain it?
Yes. I'm saying exactly that. In other words, first of all, 41 Republicans have to be on. And so that's what this would be. So in other words, instead of us having to get 60 to break a filibuster, and Mitch McConnell abused this, he filibustered more executive nominees during Obama than had been filibustered in the entire history of the country previously. So yes, and not only would they have to be on the floor, but they'd have to debate. And they'd have to, you don't have to be Strom Thurmond and be there for 24 hours. You can do 2 minutes. You can do pass it off to Ted Cruz, but it has to be germane. It can't be green eggs and ham. And then they'd have to debate this. And that'll get old very fast for them.
You know close margins pretty well. You won by a very close margin.
312.
Your race for the Senate. Yeah, which enabled Obamacare to get passed into law.
Yep.
Talk to those who say, hey, listen, it doesn't matter if it's a few votes here and there.
Oh, look at what happened in the runoffs. Those are close. We won, but those are close. This is an existential threat. This is Jim Crow too. Republicans have just doubled down on suppressing votes. And there is virtually no voter fraud. This is all one huge myth, and that they perpetrate. And this has to do with the universe of disinformation. I think there'll be other consequences. Coca-Cola, I think we could boycott that. This is a Diet Pepsi, and it's really good.
Well, there is an effort to try to influence some of these major corporations who have come out with big Black Lives Matter ad campaigns in the aftermath of last summer, Tia. A lot of those organizations are based down in Atlanta, Coca-Cola, as the senator just mentioned, also Delta. Is there going to be, or have you seen any movement among those corporations not to back the lawmakers who have passed this bill or to get behind H.R. 1 or anything in the Senate?
Well, I think the time for these corporations to act is kind of past now. There was a lot of calls from the voting rights groups and Democratic groups to get these corporations to be more active during the debate period. And that happened only in very muted, the Georgia Chamber of Commerce made some statements, but didn't go as far as to say, hey, lawmakers, knock it off. And if you don't, we're not going to be able to support you. That's just not the posture that corporations based in Georgia took on this issue up until it became law. So now it's like, what do you do? It's done now. Of course, they can say they're going to, not support these lawmakers when they're up on the ballot in 2022. But Democrats say the damage is already done.
Tia Mitchell and former Senator Al Franken, both of you, thanks for being back on the show with us. We're going to have this conversation again, Senator, don't worry. Cliff Albright, welcome, and thank you for coming on today as well.